Hello, viewers, my dear boys and girls. Today's class is exclusively for the students of West Bengal Council of Higher Secondary Education, and it is a lesson on APJ Abdul Kalam's autobiography, Strong Roots. And Strong Roots has been taken from his autobiography, The Wings of Fire. Okay? Now, many of my boys have requested me to discuss Strong Roots tonight, and that is why I have appeared before you. Okay, I am not elaborating my introduction, and now I am directly entering the content. First of all, you will have to know what is the meaning of the words strong roots. Strong roots have actually the significance. They are not the family of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, were not the floating family. They were not migrated from elsewhere, and at Rameswaram their forefathers settled. Rameswaram in the then Madras state, they settled, and APJ Abdul Kalam belonged to that family, the family which did not face acute poverty. They were an ordinary family without having any scarcity of food, clothing, and medicine. And on the other hand, APJ Abdul Kalam was born and brought up in the same place. They were not refugees, they were not migrated from elsewhere, and they did not face any scarcity of food, clothing, shelter, and medicine. And that is why APJ Abdul Kalam has named it as Strong Roots, and it is taken from his autobiography, The Wings of Fire. Okay? So, it is the justification of the title. If you are asked, why has APJ Abdul Kalam, or why is the title Strong Roots, you will have to write that the roots of the family were very strong because they were not migrated from elsewhere. Their forefathers lived at Rameswaram, and they faced no scarcity, no poverty with regard to food, shelter, clothing, and medicine. And therefore, the writing has been named as Strong Roots. Okay? Am I clear? Now let us start the writing. The writing Strong Roots, the autobiography Strong Roots, begins with I, because the author himself is describing his own life, his activities, his feelings, his growing up, his schooling, his college life, etc. All are described or narrated by first person. Clear? I was born into a middle class Tamil family in the island town of Rameswaram in the erstwhile Madras state. Here, erstwhile means the then, at that time. At that time, I was born at Rameswaram in the then Madras state, and it was the middle class family. My father Jainaluddin had neither much formal education nor much wealth. Jainaluddin was the name of APJ Abdul Kalam's father, and he had neither formal education nor much wealth. Formal education means education in school, college, university, etc., and nor much wealth. That means they were not very rich, but they did not face poverty. Clear? Despite these advantages, he possessed great innate wisdom and a true generosity of spirit. That means although he had neither much wealth nor education, formal education, he had the education within himself, because education means it is the manifestation of the perfection already in a man, according to Swami Vivekananda. That means innate wisdom. Wisdom means application of knowledge. Knowledge that you gather from your surroundings, from books, are knowledge. But when knowledge is applied to practical life, it is called wisdom. Make it clear. So, great innate wisdom, that means he inherited his wisdom from his boyhood, although he lacked formal education, and a true generosity of spirit, and his soul, his spirit, was free from any kind of crookedness, corruption, etc. That means he was very polite, very humble, and he was a very kind-hearted person. He had an ideal helpmate in my mother. Asiamma. So, Jainaluddin was the name of his father, and Asiamma was the name of his mother. And Asiamma also the true companion, the true soulmate of Jainaluddin. They are inseparable from each other. Both of them were very polite, very humble, very generous, very kind-hearted, and broad-minded too. However, I do not recall the exact number of people she fed every day, but I am quite certain that far more outsider ate with us than all the members of our family put together. But the author APJ Abdul Kalam recollects or calls up that Asiamma, his mother, used to or would feed many outsiders every day. Many outsiders would feed, FWD feed many outsiders every day. And how many there in number, he can't exactly remember. Okay? But he remembers they are more in number than the actual members of the family, than the actual number of the members of the family. This is the first paragraph, and in the first paragraph, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam has recollected his parents, his boyhood. Clear? My parents were widely regarded as an ideal couple. They were ideal couple because I have already mentioned that both of them generous, polite, humble, and broad-minded too. And they are generous. They are ideal couple. They never quarreled, they never argued, and they came to the conclusion jointly by discussion. Okay? My mother's lineage was more distinguished. That means the heredity, the family of his mother was more famous than that of his father, because one of her forebears having been bestowed the title of Bahadur by the British bestowed the title Bahadur on one of the family members or predecessors of Asiamma's family. And it is a sense of humor too, because APJ Abdul Kalam has humorously recollected that my mother's lineage was more famous than that of my father, because one of the forebears, one of the predecessors of his mother's family was bestowed with the title of Bahadur by the British at that time. He also recollects, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam also recollects, I was one of many children, a short boy with rather undistinguished looks, born to tall and handsome parents. He recollects, or he says that he was one of many children. That means his parents have many children and he was one of them, and his parents were tall and handsome too. But how it was possible for Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam that he had no distinguished looks? He was not a smart boy. He didn't look smart. He was born with undistinguished looks to tall and handsome parents. However, we lived in our ancestral house. That means the house established or set up by their forefathers, predecessors, ancestral house. That means a house belonging to the ancestors, which was built in the middle of the 19th century. It was a fairly large pucca house. That means it was a very large house made of limestone and brick. And at that time, limestone and brick were the materials for building up a house or a building. On the mosque street in Rameswaram, my austere father, here AUSTERE, austere means saintly, or having the life of a monk or a saint. That means devoid of any kind of luxury, devoid of any kind of demand, luxury, etc. However, my austere father used to avoid all inessential comforts, the comforts which were not essential for life. Life can run without all these comforts and luxuries. However, all necessities were provided for. And what were the necessities? In terms of food, medicine and clothing, that I have already mentioned. food, clothing, and medicine were the three fundamental or basic things which were needed for a life. And APJ Abdul Kalam's father provided his sons, his family members with all these three things only, and inessential comforts of life were discarded. Clear? However, in fact, I would say mine was a very secure childhood. That means my childhood was very secure and I did not face any kind of trouble or problem with terms of food, clothing, medicine, education, etc. Materially and emotionally. Materially means food, clothing, shelter, medicine, education, etc. And emotionally, that is love. That means I received affection and love from my parents, from my superiors. However, that's the end of my lesson tonight, and I promise that I will finish it. Strong Roots by APJ Abdul Kalam. And what question should be framed? What question should be set from this lesson? First of all, how does APJ Abdul Kalam recall his childhood days? And why does he say, please note it down, and why does he say that my childhood was secure both materially and emotionally? First question was, what does APJ Abdul Kalam mean by strong roots? And what is the significance of the title Strong Roots? It is the first question I have already discussed. And the second question is, what sort of childhood does APJ Abdul Kalam recall or call up? This is the second question. And why does he say that his childhood was secure in terms of his childhood was secure both materially and emotionally? And another paragraph I am reading with you. I normally ate with my mother sitting on the floor of the kitchen. She would place a banana leaf before me, on which she then ladled rice, aromatic sambar, a variety of surf, homemade pickle, and a dollop of fresh coconut chutney. And it was his daily menu during lunch. And what was his lunch? He recalls that he normally ate with his mother sitting on the floor of the kitchen, and his mother would place a banana leaf before him, and then he would serve rice with a ladle on which she would pour aromatic sambar. That means flavorous. That means sambar having a very sweet smell or flavor, and a variety of sharp homemade pickle, and a dollop of fresh coconut chutney. And this was the daily menu during the lunch. And how does APJ Abdul Kalam recall or call up his daily menu that he used to take with his mother? Okay? Good night today. And don't forget to subscribe my channel. If you find any content in my lecture, I have already given you 3 questions. What was the daily menu during lunch? How does APJ Abdul Kalam recall his childhood? And why does he say that his childhood was secure both materially and emotionally? Okay? And why does he use the words strong roots? And what is the significance of the words? So I have completed the first page of strong roots, and one of my students has earnestly requested me to discuss strong roots. Okay, I have promised that I will discuss, and exclusively for the HS students who are going to sit for the HS exam. Good night today. And if you feel that there is any content in my lecture, there is any content in my teaching, you must subscribe my channel so that I may be encouraged to appear before you with more grammatical items, and I shall give you grammar portion too from strong roots. I shall discuss it, I promise. Thanking all of you. Good night.